Okay, in this video I just want to discuss this 3D printed model of a wind turbine. Now it's a nice little model that can explain the basics of how a turbine works, and it's nice and easy to make. So it actually comes in a few separate parts. It comes as a base, two parts for the shaft that comes up along. You have the motor mount, and then you have the central propeller, which has three different blades on it. Now each of the parts are glued together. The only other part that you'll need to go and get is a motor, and it's actually a certain type of motor that fits into it, and this motor can usually be found in these standard type motors, these usually being called the yellow gearbox motor, and this is the green version of that same motor. What you can do is just take out two screws and pull out this motor out of it and reuse it in this model. Now you should be able to find these motors elsewhere. Usually they're used in a lot of random toys that come from China. So you can take them apart if you have things broken, and potentially you can drop them into a little model like this. Now once you have it all glued together and it's put together, all you'll need to do is attach two wires going to each of I suppose your little contacts here on your motor, and bring them out to a multimeter and set your multimeter to read DC voltage. Now what you'll notice is that will drop all the way down to 0, or will hover around 0 here, and when you apply a bit of air, which I'm going to use a hairdryer to blow air towards your blades, you'll see that this voltage should increase. Now what you can see is the voltage varies depending on the speed that the shaft is rotating at. It can vary a bit higher and lower depending on how the air hits the blades and how fast it rotates it around. So it's not a consistent voltage that it gets from it, but as it rotates it builds up and as well as drops down depending on the air. And that actually is the same way that they run out in the fields, depending on how strong the wind is, the breezes that's hitting them, or if they are directly getting the wind straight to the front of the wind turbine itself. It changes the speed at which it runs at. Now a lot of turbines, which this is not replicating, actually changes position to best hit the wind. So you'll notice that the head actually slightly turns to side to ensure that it is getting maximum amount of power or energy from the wind itself. So if I start blowing this again, you'll see as I move it to the side, it actually affects the voltage around where it sits once it picks up to the speed.